At that point, here's a tweet saying, "Can we bring back Kamala Harris as a cop?" And you'll notice they have a Palestine flag in it. And the Kamala is a cop smear was particularly problematic one. The attack is both sexist and racist. It's sexist because it willfully ignores Kamala Harris's actual titles, which she has earned as district attorney and attorney general. And also, she was never a police officer. So calling her a cop minimizes professional accomplishments, which is par for the course in sexist politics. The attack is also a racist one because it's loaded with the intention specifically to take the anti-blackness, which has been widely documented by police officers, and tie her to it, suggesting she's a traitor to her community.
Yeah.
And moreover, it appeals to edgelords who somehow think voting for someone who obeys laws is uncool.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm a cop, I'll never vote. I'm against the law, man.
Right.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
And those folks actually have another candidate who they can vote for, who's all about breaking the law and owning it. And so, so here's a clip. This is from 2006 when she was a district attorney speaking at the Black State of the Union. That's Tavis Smiley moderating. And she goes off in a way that I think will sort of answer that sort of mistrustful leftist philosophy.
The criminal justice system is not working for the African American community. I can tell you as the chief law enforcement officer for a major city in this country that it is not working. We see that in the statistics that you've outlined. 2 million people are in the prison system in this country. Over 40% are African American, in spite of the fact that we only constitute 13% of the general population. It's not working. It's not working when we recognize that African American men, the leading cause of their death is homicide. We are overly represented both as victims and as defendants and as witnesses. Our communities suffer because our babies hear the gunfire every night, so the 7-year-old has post-traumatic stress disorder and cannot go to school the next day and learn. The criminal justice system is not working for us. What I think we have failed to do as a community, however, is own this issue of law enforcement. We talk about these statistics in the context always of it is unfair, it's morally incorrect. Maybe we have learned that from the church. It is morally incorrect. But nobody cares about that. You can look at Katrina. Nobody cares about the fact that we've got a bunch of young black and brown men in prison. That argument is not working. What I suggest we do as African Americans is own this issue in law enforcement and then define it in the way that works for us. Because it is a myth to say that African Americans don't want law enforcement. We do. We want our grandmothers to be able to walk to church and be safe. We want our babies to be able to walk to the park and be safe. What we don't want is racial profiling. What we don't want is excessive force.
That's right.
What we don't want is to have our civil liberties and civil rights be stripped. But we do want law enforcement. So let's define it in the way that works for us by saying, I want community policing. I want a police department that works in my neighborhood and in my community that reflects the mores and the culture and respects my grandmother, again, when they walk in to talk to her. I want a system of accountability in the criminal justice system that says law enforcement needs to own crime prevention as much as it talks about long sentences. Because nationally, only 18% of serious crime results in an arrest. So if I, as law enforcement, with my responsibility to keep you safe, only talk about keeping you safe by sending people to prison for a long time, I'm necessarily going to fall short because the vast majority of that crime's not even hitting my system. So if I'm going to keep my promise to you to keep you safe, I better talk with you about what I'm doing in terms of crime prevention, which means recognizing that people coming out of the state prisons, 60% will recidivate if we don't get them in reentry programs, if we don't get them in job training, job readiness, get them in programs that deal with their substance abuse, get them in meaningful housing and employment so they don't recidivate.
Not as succinct as saying Kamala's a cop. But
I hope she brings that fire to the debates, man.
yeah, I wish I could talk like that.
Yeah,